Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's Chiropractic Leadership. I'm Dr. Jason Deitch, and I'm here with the privilege, of course, with Dr. Jerry Clum, Director of the Octagon, and many more things. Jerry, how are you today?
I'm well, my friend. Thank you. Great to be with you again today.
Right on. I want to let everybody know this is our first TCL training program. Today's Chiropractic Leadership is providing trainings for chiropractors who see themselves or want to see themselves as leaders in their community. This is really a phenomenal forum for us to inspire as many leaders to become leaders, provide the inspiration and, in many cases, deep experience on how to be a leader in your community. But as important is also providing you the content, the facts and the what to say, along with the how to say it, so that we really can create a lot of local leaders that are singing from the same song sheet or as close to it as possible. Jerry, you've created this program. This first training, we're really tackling the opioid crisis. Let's start with, I guess, your thoughts on leadership, why it's important. What's the difference between those that sort of step up and take on a self-imposed leadership role as opposed to those who say, let them handle it. I got a mortgage payment to make. I've got my own personal problems and other issues. What's the thought process behind those two things?
Well, the engagement issue is exactly what you talked about right there. And, you know, leadership comes to some people and some people gain leadership along the way. This is an opportunity, I think, for the average guy and gal in towns across the United States to be able to develop themselves, their skills, their presentation capacities, and their leadership ability. Now, let me just say that this discussion, this is several things. I'd like to talk first about what this is not. This is not practice building. This is education and information sharing. This is not about serving your needs, your practice, etc., and your issues of any kind. This is about serving the needs of your community. This is about bringing information on a very topical, very critical, very dangerous issue to the people that live near you, that go to school, whose kids go to school with your kids, that you worship together in the same facilities, and so on. And the most important thing I could tell you about this entire training is the orientation and the attitude that I hope every chiropractor would approach this with. This is not about you. This is not about your practice. This is not about new patients. This is not about Monday morning and your stats. This is about what you can do to help minimize suffering in your community and to save lives in your community, period. Now, clearly, you may do both of those things as a chiropractor over the adjusting table, but I'm asking you to step up into a broader context that gives you leadership beyond just your office. There's no question, you're the leader in your office. That works the way it works because you want it to work that way, and you're the boss. But I'd ask you to take a step up or step back and look at this in a broader context, that we can see the opportunity that the moment associated with the opioid crisis presents for you and I in our communities, with our neighbors, with our family, with our friends, with our civic groups, etc., across the board. So that's the emphasis. If you're looking for some way to get new patients, stop listening to me right now. Okay? That's not what this is about. If you're interested in bringing information to your community that could save someone's life by keeping them off of opioids, then we got some work to do and a great opportunity together to do it. So let me tell you a few other things that this is. Number one, this is free. Okay? Nobody's going to ask you to pay for a thing. We will provide you the PowerPoints. We'll provide you the scripts. We'll provide you with the resources and the documentation for every number, every stat, every bit of information that's in the PowerPoints and in the script, so that you, if somebody questions you, you have rock solid evidence and data to back that up, okay? number one. Number two, this is about helping to position you as a leader in your community in a subject that we have, I believe, a moral high ground on. We have not contributed the first script to this problem. The opioid, if it were up to the chiropractic world, the opioid problem never would have existed because it just isn't part of our wheelhouse, isn't part of our deal at all. But it does exist out there. And we interface with people that have pain. We interface with people that use opioids. We interface with people that are thinking about it. And this is information we hope to bring to them to make better choices about their life, their healthcare, and their future. Remember, this is about them, not about you.
I think it's essential that there's a context for that. And for those listening, is there a certain type, you say this is what it's not, is there a certain type of person that shouldn't do this? I mean, if they are just graduating, or if they're not able to make ends meet in their practice, or is there anybody that shouldn't do this? Or is this really just an attitude and a perspective to hold while doing it? Clearly you can walk out.
It's the attitude and perspective to hold while doing it.
Yeah.
You know, the reality is if you're not comfortable making presentations in front of groups, don't do it to keep me happy, or don't do it because I think it's a good idea. If that isn't your gig, then don't go there.
Yeah.
Okay, find another way to serve people. Find another way to help in your community. But if this is a way to help you get better at doing that, then great. Another advantage for you. So let's talk specifically what we're talking about here.
Great.
I'm looking at what we want to present to you as a training that will walk you through a 20 to 30-minute discussion about the opioid crisis. Where did it come from? How did we get into this soup? How extensive is it? What's the impact of it on our society? What can you do as a citizen in your home, in your family, and in your community to help stem this tide? What are some resources that you can access to help learn more about it if you want to? And then we're going to finish up with 8 takeaway points that we want people to remember as they leave the presentation. Again, this is not about your office, your patients, new patients, etc. This is about helping people gain an understanding of opioids to make better decisions about their healthcare. Now, logically, I think one of the better decisions about their healthcare will be to think of you in the future when they have pain. But this is very much an indirect discussion. This is not, this is not the chiropractor promoting chiropractic for the chiropractor's well-being, etc. This is us approaching this question about opioids for the best interest of our communities. Now, what we'll do is we'll go through the slide. I'll make the presentation in the training just like I'd encourage you to do. I'll provide you with a script that is literally a word-for-word discussion of the slides and the emphasis to make. And we'll give you some key points for you to keep in mind as you're going through this along the way. The third thing that we'll provide you is I'll provide you with a larger PowerPoint presentation and a discussion about the history of opioids and so on, so that you could spend maybe a half an hour, maybe an hour going through that and getting familiar yourself with this subject over history. It's a fascinating subject. You know, one of the things I like to toss out in this discussion is Hong Kong exists today as Hong Kong, part of the spoils of war, because when the Chinese lost the Opium Wars with the British, Hong Kong was part of the settlement that the Chinese gave to the British.
Wow.
So when you think about, how things happen in life, it's fascinating. If you understand the history of opioids, you understand that the British government is the largest drug dealer in the history of humankind. They brought the world the opium crisis. Now, they brought it to us in the 1840s and 50s and so on, and it morphed into other things over time. And I'm not saying it wouldn't have happened without them, but the sun never set on the British Empire, and because of that power around the globe, they had massive influence. So if you could approach this from a geographic consideration, a cultural consideration, a religious consideration. This is not the problem it is in the Christian world. It's not the same problem in the Islamic world, because Muhammad said that the opiates were banned. Opiates and alcohol were banned. So those issues didn't rise up in those societies where they did in the Western world.
Interesting.
So there's all sorts of layers to this to get into this conversation. And one of the conversations that you and I have had recently, Jason, is talking about context and content. If you have the broader context and understand this has got religious components to it, it's got geographic components to it, it's got history components to it, it's got science, it's got healthcare components to it, it's got criminality and social justice elements to it. It's the number one driver of the increase of children in foster care in the United States in 2018 is the opiate crisis. Mom and dad who are strung out or in jail can't take care of those babies.
Yeah.
Think about the layers of this. It's phenomenal. Let me add one other detail. Today in the US, among males under the age of 50, the number one cause of death is opioid addiction. Not cancer, not heart disease, not stroke, not accidents, not work traumas, etc. It's opioids. Our goal in this entire process is to get people to think about these products as the dangerous things they are, recognize that there may be times in their lives when they need to use them, not be judgmental about that, but ask them to be judgmental of themselves about, do I need this product? Do I need it now every single time they take it? So the whole approach is very direct. It's non-confrontational to the patient. We're not saying, you're bad because you've taken opioids. Hell, I've had 4 joint replacements. I've had my share of opioids. and quite frankly, when you're just coming out of some anesthetic of having a knee replacement, they're a damn good thing to have. But a week later, they're not what you want. And that's the point. And so what we want to do is invite anybody and everybody who's interested in stepping up, trying to help stem this tide, becoming a leader in your community, and using this opportunity to develop your skills, your presentation capacities, your understanding, and your knowledge for the betterment of your community, not necessarily for the betterment of your practice. And
let me just add to that this doesn't have to be limited to a live presentation.
Oh, no.
What we're doing right here, right now, there are great software programs that you literally can read the scripting and speak and record yourself. So whether you want to do a Facebook Live, a pre-recorded webinar, a podcast, there's a lot of different ways to be a leader or a messenger in today's world. It used to be the hardest part was doing the work to do the research, to make it look presentable, and then figuring out what was the right distribution format. And in many cases, we think of, if we're not invited to, be a lecturer somewhere, or we can't fill up a room, we don't have any other options. There's lots of options. And between Dr. Clum and the content and myself, and hopefully me pushing you harder and harder, both of us will be doing that, but also letting you know we're in a digital age. And if you're watching this, you'll hear me say it over and over again. If you're watching this, it works. You may be, in your office, you may be on vacation, it may be the middle of the night, you may be driving, listening to us, but that's the point, is information is accessible by everyone, everywhere, almost for free. And that's the opportunity to basically be a leader. Jerry, how would you simply, describe what you think a leader is? How do you describe not just a chiropractor, but a chiropractic leader? What are those elements? Or maybe you just described them by saying it's not about me, it's about them, and that's the attitude.
Yeah, it's essentially somebody who has a calling to step up and take more responsibility for a given subject or a given situation at any given moment than the average guy or gal does.
Yeah.
Now, It's nothing more than that.
Yep.
You know, it's a matter of sometimes you're thrust into it. Sometimes it delivers itself to you. Be that as it may, it's doing just a little bit more than the other person does or the next person does. Not in any judgment, just as an opportunity and a moment in time. You can do it, so on. And if you keep doing that, then over time, that capacity for leadership and the opportunities for leadership come to you more and more frequently. And it's like anything else. It's. I remember when Kathy was first pregnant, instantly, baby carriages were popping out of the sidewalk. Maternity stores were showing up in the mall that hadn't been there before, and babies were every place.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just when you start to get involved in leadership, opportunities for leadership will come your way, and if you manage them well, you'll continue to have bigger and bigger opportunities for leadership over time, and make a stronger and stronger contribution. So it's nothing magical. It's nothing, you know, no anointment, no proclamation has to come down to designate you a leader. It's self-determinant.
It's not about your ancestry here.
You pick up the mantle.
Okay. Why chiropractors and why now?
Well, the bottom line here is that in relationship to this opioid crisis, our hands are clean. We haven't contributed the first script of this discussion. We are not persons that are Johnny-come-latelys to the idea of non-pharmacological care. That's been our forte since 1895. We haven't used that terminology, but that's what we did. And that's what we've delivered over all these years. Now the thrust of society is coming together with our strength and a great need, and we've got an opportunity to meet that. So I think this is ideal for the chiropractor. We're not getting into pharmacology. You know, we're not getting into, you know, if you want, you know, maximum morphine equivalence and all that kind of stuff, that's somebody else's deal. All we're saying is be very careful. Step back from these things whenever you can. Give examples of how you can do that. Give people strategies of how they can deal with their providers, so on, and let the consumer know that the Centers for Disease Control, the Food and Drug Administration, the Institute of Medicine, the Joint Commission on the Accreditation of Hospitals and Health Organizations, the Veterans Administration, the Department of Defense are all on board with what we're talking about. This is not the crazy chiropractor out there screaming in the wilderness saying, don't ever touch these things. This is everybody in healthcare saying, don't ever touch these things.
Yeah.
We've got an opportunity to carry that message. When I say don't ever, that's hyperbole.
Yeah.
You know, obviously in cancer-related pain, post-surgical pain, there's needs for these things.
Use them cautiously when required.
That's right. And so that's our hope. So please keep an eye on your email, keep an eye on your social media posts. We'll be having the trainings and this. I'm working on all sorts of fronts. In a couple of weeks, I'll be down in Austin, Texas, at the Congress of Chiropractic State Associations, making this same appeal to them to take to their state associations. You know, I'll be working with the Foundation for Chiropractic Progress along the same lines, working with today's Chiropractic Leadership and Life University along the same lines. This is too big an issue with too bad a consequence not for us to pull out all the stops.
Right on. Well, as Dr. Clum said, look for links, watch your email, look on social media. As you continue to see more and more TCL trainings, you will see links to the opioid presentation we're talking about here, along with the scripting and so on. Jerry, what else do they need to know?
That's it. Pay attention.
Okay.
If you'll invest a couple hours in this process, we'll give you all the tools you need to be successful in your community and help a lot of people.
And I'll just close by asking, thank you for watching. If this makes sense to you and you see what we see, which is hundreds, maybe even thousands of local leaders stepping up, speaking up, live and through technology, sharing a message of hope, sharing a message of direction in a very selfless and human way, then please get involved yourselves, but also please help us help more. Be a leader by sharing this with other people. The implications of us working together as a network, as a group, as lots of local voices are really what it takes in today's day and age. So, Dr. Clum, thank you for putting this all together.
Thank you, my friend. Great to be working with you on this.
Appreciate it as well. Thank you for watching. Check your email, look for links, get involved.